Hi, we're Ralph and Lahni Diamikis, and we're about to embark on a new year.
So we're actually changing up our format a little bit. Normally we would take an entire episode for a subject, something on detoxing or weight loss or something like that. But now we've decided to do 3 8-minute segments and put them together. And there's going to be some relationship between them, probably. But it's partially because we feel that people have very short attention spans. We've noticed that.
And very little time.
And also, many of our things go out onto the web, go out into social media, and an 8-minute segment is something that people can, watch while they're sitting in, traffic in the back of a car, or when they're waiting for a meeting or something like that.
Does that mean we have to change the name of our book from the 10-minute herbalist to the 8-minute herbalist?
I hope not. I hope not. Honestly, so many of the things that you need to know about health are really not that complicated.
So that means we can keep the title of our book, Good Health is Easy, It's Being Sick That's Rough.
Exactly. Because it wasn't designed to be complicated. The body was designed to work. You were designed to be healthy. When you're having challenges, when you're having health issues, it's because something else complicated. Some food made it into your path that wasn't supposed to be there. Some activity that you weren't supposed to be doing. Given its natural route, your body will be healthy. So hopefully this will help you get back on that path.
One of the questions we frequently get is, what kind of exercise program do we do? What kind of exercise program is something that we recommend for other people? And the truth of the matter is that there's a lot of things that people can do. And even if you don't think that you want to do a regular exercise program, there's a lot to be learned by looking at what you're doing right now. And I've been using a tracker. A lot of people are using trackers. I was using a tracker that came with my Galaxy for a while. Tracked things like calories and activity levels and things like that.
Steps.
Yeah, the steps, counting your steps and things like that. And that's basically one of the things that I used it for. But it really bothered me because I couldn't have my phone on me all the time. I mean, those of you who know us from our feng shui suggestions as well as our herbal suggestions know that it's not a good thing to keep these electromagnetics on your body all the time. So I was always intrigued by the trackers that you wear, the wearables, just for the viewpoint that they don't have as big an electromagnetic field, so you're not going to be subject to the same kinds of things as having a big hunkin' phone that's basically a computer in your pocket.
Yes.
On you at all times. And so they track different things. They track more things. And the benefit is that even if you leave your phone on your desk, hopefully a few times a day, you're still going to have the benefit of counting your steps, even if that's all you used it for. So we're exploring the use of the wearable tracker now in a different way. And I knew it would give me a better count on my steps because since I left my phone many times in places that wasn't accessible to me when I was doing a lot of my most active things, I'm a girl. I don't have pockets like guys do all the time. So, you have pockets and you don't like to wear your phone. So, so I got a better read on my steps, but I was surprised by some of the other information that I got from having the wearable that I didn't get from these just app type programs.
Yeah, the technology is really amazing. And we were talking with a friend the other day who's a retired physician, and he was saying, my gosh, the types of stuff you're finding in here, we would have had to pay a lot of money and do a lot of monitoring to find out the same information, things about sleep, for instance, or really things about how many steps you do. There's that concept of, if you want to improve your health, do 10,000 steps a day. Well, how do you measure that? And it's really amazing how clueless most of us are about our actual level of activity and our diet and how these things contribute to our health. And I realize that a lot of the commercials out there are geared towards the athlete. It shows the person running down the road and being athletic and looking at their thing and keeping track of what they're doing. But I honestly think that this is more helpful to the person who's not the committed athlete. Maybe someone who exercises a bit, but is not actively working on it all the time or every single day, because that person has the high activity level. They have their attention on it already. It's the other people who are just busy with their lives who become clueless and will run themselves into, blind alleys and get themselves stuck in a problem because they didn't realize what their activity was actually going to cause long term.
Well, and I'm a big believer in that you can't fix it if you don't know that it's broken. So many people tell themselves, oh, I run up and down the stairs a few times a day, or, I park my car a little bit further away. But what does that really relate to in calories burned, energy generated, fitness levels, cardio, health, all these things? You don't really put it into that perspective. And frankly, I have to let you in on a little secret. Our brain will lie to us.
Yes.
We say, oh, I did a lot of walking today.
Yes.
And if you had a tracker, you go, not so much.
Not as much.
And one of the features I like about the tracker that I have is that every hour it gives me a little buzz and reminds me I should go get up, walk around, and put another 250 steps on my tracker. Which is great because I spend a lot of time at the computer. I know none of you do, but I happen to spend a lot of time at my computer. And it's good to have that reminder. There's those commercials on TV now that say that, sitting at your desk for 6 hours a day is like smoking a pack of cigarettes a day.
Right.
I mean, that's how bad it is for your health. So just having that reminder to get up and walk around, it's going to save your back pain. It's going to save your sciatica. It's going to save your mental health, especially if you go outside and get a breath of fresh air. It's going to save your lungs and, all of that if you just take a few trips around, your floor plan or up and down the stairs or anything like that. So that little reminder in and of itself is great. There's also reminders that can tell you this is the time to start winding down so you can get a good night's sleep. And Ralph mentioned about the sleep tracker. People are not getting enough sleep.
No.
We've seen some things in the news recently about the fact that this country is so sleep deprived, much more so than other countries in the world. And we wear it kind of like a badge of honor. I mean, it's terrible. So this tracker, and most trackers that track your sleep, will track your 4 stages of being awake, REM sleep, light sleep, and deep sleep. And there's certain benchmarks for the percentage of time you should spend in each of those things. And I'm a really super, super light sleeper. So it was important for me to kind of see if I ever get into deep sleep, because that's where all the repair work happens, in that 3rd level of sleep. And REM sleep is the time that really helps with your mood adjustment. You get to, that's when you dream, and rapid eye movement. REM sleep is very important for your psychological and emotional health. And then the light sleep is very restorative in terms of, oh, my muscles were sore, I'm really tired today. It's that light sleep, that mid-range of sleep that really helps to restore you like that. So it's a balance between these things. And when you see it mapped out, and you can actually look and see, oh, I was awake for 8 minutes from 12:08 to 12:16, and then I dropped off into light sleep and I slept for 31 minutes, and then I woke up for a minute, and then I went back to sleep, and then I went into deep sleep for 8 minutes. It's really kind of an interesting insight into maybe why you're not healing the way you think you should. For the amount of rest, why you don't have the energy levels that you think you should. Oh, I was in bed for 8 hours. Well, you look at the bar and you see that of those 8 hours, you only spent, 10 minutes in deep sleep, and the rest was, cycling between awake and REM sleep.
Know something? We have herbs for that. one of the things I love about these trackers is you can use them interactively with your apps to determine how many calories are you getting in terms of your food, and how much of that are you burning. Now, calories are not, always equal. The certain foods can inflame people, for instance, the foods of the deadly nightshade, for instance. They could be giving you calories you could use as energy, but if it's inflaming your body, well, now your body's having to work twice as hard in order to use them. So this is where diet and nutrition and understanding your body and understanding your foods is very important. But once again, calories are energy in, and walking and activity is energy out. And if you don't keep those things in balance, you're not going to get your weight where you want it to go.
Well, and that's very interesting. People think, oh, I'm really logging my calories. I'm sticking to 1,500 calories, but I'm still not losing weight. Well, if your activity level is only burning 500 calories a day or 1,000 calories a day, you're eating 1,500, you're not going to lose weight. So these trackers are very helpful for you to get a clearer picture, than your brain is telling you, you've got it in black and white. It also can track your heart rate, your resting heart rate, and when you're walking. And one of the, you can actually map your walks, and so you can see how many miles you've done or parts of a mile that you've done. And if you do it a little bit more energetically, you can see just how far you have to push yourself to get into that cardio range. So it's a very interesting piece of information that you wouldn't be able to get necessarily from just a regular tracker app if you didn't have the wearable.
Exactly. And for instance, one of the things you can help track with this is how much water you're getting into your body, what's your liquid intake. This is really important. Many people become dehydrated, and while water is not the solution for everything, it is critical in terms of your body's ability to move materials around your body. For instance, one of the reasons why walking is so important and physical activity is so important, but especially walking, is that your lymphatic system, by which you drain acids out of your body, is entirely run by the flexing of muscles, where your heart, pumps da-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum, and moves blood around the cycle, and then motion, for instance, in your spinal fluid is once again pumped in a certain way, about 12 pumps per minute. But lymphatic system is based upon you walking or moving your body to drain the acids and destroyed cells out of the body, and that's what sweat is, among other things, but also drains into the bowels. And if you don't move, you can't drain. Well, if you don't have enough liquid, well, you don't have anything to drain. And your body can actually get too dry, and you can end up with toxins stuck in places because you simply don't have enough liquid.
Well, and toxins stuck because you're dehydrated is, that's another name for a headache.
Yes.
Toxins get stuck in the brain if you don't have water to flush those toxins that are constantly being thrown off out of your brain. But also walking also flexes these reflexology points. Imagine these are feet. Yeah. They're reflexology points on the heels of both feet, and as we walk, it flexes the sympathetic area of the colon so that you have regularity. And of course, if you're dry, dehydrated, you're going to be constipated. Right. So there's a lot of reasons you want to track how much water you take in a day. And just to give yourself a simple goal, don't start with, an unreachable goal. You say, I realize I only drank 32 ounces of water yesterday. I should be drinking about 75. Let's see if I can add another 16-ounce bottle of water to that, and work up to it gradually. Yeah. Or Ralph has mentioned in the past that, the goal is to walk 10,000 steps in a day to, be healthy and keep your heart healthy and things like that. But maybe that's something it just seems impossibly out of range. Set your goal for 3,000 steps. Right. Then set your goal for 4,000 steps, 5,000 steps. And over time, you will gradually, by increasing your steps by 1,000 steps, you'll be able to reach that goal of 10,000 steps. And you'll have the energy and stamina increase that all of that activity gives you.
Yeah, basically the body always requires patience. Don't make big changes all of a sudden. If you make a big change in something, it's going to come back and bite you somehow. Either it's going to come back and bite you by creating a very uncomfortable cleansing, Maybe suddenly your body's going to dump a lot of acid into the tissue very suddenly, and you're going to be real uncomfortable. Or, you're going to get, and it's going to give you headaches. Like, for instance, we were talking about liquid and lymph. You realize that if the lymph in the lungs has difficulty draining out, either because the drains are clogged going into the bowels or it doesn't have enough liquid, that's asthma, because too much acid builds up in the lungs. So you want to do these things gradually and work your way up towards your steps. If you have a goal, aim to get to that goal in 2 or 3 weeks. Don't aim to get to it tomorrow.
And I always say there's two kinds of people in the world: the people who want to cleanse and the people who want to cleanse. And I've always leaned to the be gentle with yourself side, because we've seen too many people say, I'm really going to do it. I'm really going to start. I'm going to cut out everything that's not good for me. I'm going to do everything that's good for me. And they fall apart because you just can't be that unkind to your body.
Yes.
If you are kind and gentle to your body and gradually increase, not only is it easier for you to stay on a program long term because you haven't had this traumatic experience out of it, but you actually get to learn from your body.
Yes.
You get to see the signs and relate them to these small incremental things. When you change your diet, if you change everything in your diet, you don't know what helped, what didn't help. But if you change small things in your diet, if you go to paleo, you take out grains and live with that for a while, then take out the beans. Then examine whether or not you have to go on low oxalate. If you have kidney issues or pain issues that don't go away when you make these other adjustments in your body, but you can't tell what the culprit is unless you go gently one item at a time. Well, it's the same way with exercise. You're not going to go out and run a marathon right away. You're going to start out slowly. You're going to walk before you run, is
Right.
what the expression is.
Yeah, and essentially, what are you in a hurry for? Is your body going to be around next week and the weekend after that and the week after? Get there when you get there, but do it in a way that's comfortable and a way that's not going to frighten your body into, what are you doing to me? Why are you doing this to me? No. It's like with children, introduce things slowly.
So, you have your tracker, you get to examine the information that's there, use the parts of it that are helpful to you. I think they're all helpful, but you don't have to use every aspect of it right away because it could be overwhelming. Start with a few things and then explore the other things that can give you some insight into where your health is now and where you want it to go. So if we're already wearing a fitness tracker, one of the great things you can do is to pair it up with a fitness scale or a biological age scale.
Technology is wonderful. It's amazing the technology we have today that helps you figure out what's going on with your body and help you get in the direction you want to go. And the fitness scales are a perfect example of that, because years ago you looked at what? Your weight. Am I doing well? Am I put weight on? Am I losing weight? But now, not only can you look at your weight, you can also look at what's your balance of fat to muscle, right? What's your balance of visceral fat, for instance? That's remarkable that these scales can actually identify how much fat is around those internal organs as well. It can tell you the density of your bones. How much of your weight is bones.
Not the density, but the mass.
The mass.
The bone mass.
Exactly.
Right.
Bone mass, that's a better way to describe it.
Yeah.
And it also tells you, among other things, your metabolic age.
That's a very rewarding thing for people, because if you start working with the BioTracker scale and you monitor with your fitness tracker, you're increasing your activity levels, and you see that proportion of fat to muscle, maybe the weight even goes up a little bit, but the muscle proportion is higher and the fat proportion is lower. And then when you see that metabolic age come down, we've had people get on the scale, and when they're first starting, maybe they're in their late 50s or early 60s, but your metabolic age is in the 70s or almost 80 range. And then when they start to do small incremental changes that they're tracking with their wearable, then the next time that they see us and they get on that bio tracker scale and their metabolic age comes down 10 years, 15 years, all of a sudden, you know, it was 72 and now you're 43 years old metabolically because you've exercised your heart, you've exercised your muscles, you've increased your muscle mass. And that bone mass number going up is another thing that really is dramatic for people, because you really want to make sure that you keep track of that more than once a year or once every 5 years or something like that.
Yeah, it's surprising to me many times, and I shouldn't be surprised by this after all this many years, that people oftentimes say, oh, well, my health is pretty good, because the standard that they've become accustomed to is simply not that high. You know, when people's health goes down, it goes down incrementally, and they simply get used to things and they accommodate things, and then they get up on that scale and here they are, a 50-year-old person, and the scale's saying, well, you're actually metabolically you're 80. And they go, what? And it seems incomprehensible to them because they thought they were doing pretty good.
We call that a swift kick in the pants.
Right. You know, and then when you start working with them, you help them detoxify their body, get the things out that are trapped in their body. You help them stop doing harm to themselves by starting to avoid certain foods that are working against them. You start getting them to, focus on doing some more activity. Maybe say, hey, go out and get yourself a tracker, and make sure you're on your feet a bit more today. Make sure you're drinking enough water. Monitor these things, and they start making these changes. Add some good supplements. Add things like magnesium and potassium supplements, and add some good herbs to their diets. Herbs are superfoods, and make sure they're getting enough protein. That's always a big issue with people. People don't get nearly enough proteins. They get lots of carbs, lots and lots of wheat, but they don't get enough lean protein. You start changing these things around, and that scale just keeps coming down and down and down. And they're looking at that, but they're also feeling it. When they're standing on the scale, they know that they're feeling better. They know they're standing straighter. They know that emotionally they're feeling stronger.
Absolutely. There's a lot of degrees of strength. There's a lot of, strength and motivation. I mean, I even notice that people have more willpower as they get stronger. So you're strengthening emotionally as well as strengthening your body, and your endurance goes up. And I really give a lot of credit to the people who start out where they can barely, walk around a block when they start, and then they get to a point where they can, and you don't have to progress beyond walking, but they can walk far distances, a couple of miles or more, and feel good, and getting their heart rate up into that cardio range, even for short periods of time, is something that's very, very helpful. I mean, a lot of prescription drugs these days have been having very deleterious effects on the heart muscle. You see that your other muscles kind of get weak and flabby and atrophied. Don't forget, your heart gets like that too. We see a lot more people with heart failure or heart insufficiencies that are basically the heart being in too much of a relaxed state. How do you tone up your muscle? Well, you tone up your muscle by getting into that cardio range with your heart rate, because that muscle doesn't take a break, but you have to have the force to move the blood and circulation through the body.
Exactly. I mean, and just to throw a little product thing in there, carnitine. L-carnitine is the amino acid that's responsible for tying muscle cells together into long lines. And if you don't get enough L-carnitine in your diet, it affects the heart most significantly. And L-carnitine is only found primarily in food, in meat, in fish and animal protein, primarily muscle tissue, though you can get it in supplements. So people who are vegetarians are not getting enough L-carnitine, of course, but you can supplement with one that comes from a non-animal source to replace that very essential amino acid that's really important if you want to be here when you get there. You want to hang out for a while. You need to make sure that you're getting carnitine for your heart.
And a critical underlying factor is inflammation. And we have a problem with inflammation because the American diet produces so much inflammation in the body. And then what do people reach for? They reach for NSAIDs, NSAID, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. And what do? They relax the heart muscle too much, and they can be a contributing factor to idiopathic heart failure or heart insufficiency. So by reducing the inflammation, you reduce your needs for these anti-inflammatory drugs, although there are anti-inflammatory properties in natural products that don't have that heart side effect. But if you can reduce the inflammation going in, then you're giving your heart that chance to recover, because all you really have to do is give yourself the right nutrition, and the body knows how to work at healing itself. So give it a little kick in the pants, open the door, get a breath of fresh air, take a walk, track yourself so that you have some kind of benchmark to set your goals by, either a wearable, a scale, a combination of both, some natural supplements. You'll be a no person. Well, that's it for this episode. Thanks for joining us, and come see us again for future episodes of Ask Ralph and Lahni. We also have other resources for you.
Over the years, as part of our courses, we've written a lot of books. We started off with The 10-Minute Herbalist because we felt that people could get basically what they needed in little 10-minute sound bites. Then we did Good Health is Easy, It's Being Sick That's Rough. And then we did, I guess, A Year of Healthful Hints. And then we did The Paleo Herbalist, Having Brunch in the Garden of Eden. And I think,
we do good titles.
And I think there's a couple of other ones floating around here and there in digital format. And they're all very helpful. But we also, of course, have done several years of Ask Ralph and Lahni. And these were really based upon The 10-Minute Herbalist and the other books. And they all grew out of our original herbal course, which was called Aloe to Zingiber, a Master Herbalist. And we really think this information should be readily available. I mean, people buy our books all the time, but if you go to our website, spaceandtime.com, you will find many of the chapters from especially The 10-Minute Herbalist online, along with the TV episode related to it. And if you go to spaceandtime.com and then go to Ask Ralph and Lahni and go to the pull down, you'll see Herbal Course. That is a free herbal course that you can take. You start with the first one, you work your way through, and every episode has a chapter connected to it that fills in the details that aren't necessarily in the video or need to be reinforced. And if you work your way all the way through, you will essentially do our Master Herbalist course. Now, you will not be in Master Herbalist when you finish that because there's a lot of practical stuff, but you will find a tremendous number of good solutions, and it will not cost you a dime. So, be well and enjoy.